Hi everyone, I'm Ariane Zurcher and welcome to On the Other Hand. Today's video I am talking about a whole lot of stuff. And I'm working through a couple of different problems that I'm encountering. I'm also discuss some of the things that I've learned to do to avoid burnout. I talk about all kinds of different, a whole lot of different topics come up. And at the very end, I have some photos of the great elephant migration here in New York City. So if you haven't heard about it, it's I actually want to go out in the evening one night, maybe during the week where it's not quite so crowded, because there are a lot of tourists and people around right now, especially on the weekends. But I'd love to go out in the evening and take some photos, because they're not far from where we live and they are magnificent. So definitely you want to wait to the end to see that those photos. Okay, let's get started. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. So yeah. I have this laid out on the floor because it's getting big, too big for my workspace. So for those of you who followed the first vessel, I'm at the point where I'm starting to want to just like add huge big things just to hurry it up. And so I'm seeing that, like I've got like this huge big mess over here, and then I've got and that's a mistake. So I need to keep this very, very sort of steady as she goes. I think what I'm going to do right now is I have added quite a lot over here. I may leave this now and start working on this side, because I've got quite a bit to do, adding different things. And I'm just going to take it one step at a time. So the first thing to do is to add this piece to this, and then to adhere this piece here, maybe add this on. I'm not sure, it's a wool piece that I cut out for my big piece that I did in Paris. And then maybe add a small bit of this. This is a collage that I started cutting up. The colors are nice. I'm not sure it works anywhere. Maybe, like this part here could be, I'll have to see. And then just take it as it goes, one step at a time. So that's the next bit. I'm not going to worry about the rest of this. So all this other stuff, that's good. All right, so as I mentioned in the last video that I shot yesterday, where I had this whole thing spread out on the ground, and I could see that I was really doing that same thing that I did before, which is, getting to that point of sort of like, enough, let's get this thing moving, and so let's just start throwing big things on here to just get it done. And I thankfully I recognized that, and I thought, no, you gotta slow down. This is not the answer. So I am taking it just one little baby step at a time, which is to now work on this piece, to get this adhered, get this blue piece adhered, maybe attach this, figure out what I'm putting in, in here, in this area. I've got little pleats here that I'm adding. I may add another, just to kind of give it that sort of poof that I want. Having learned my lessons from the last time, I remember there were a couple of you, remember darts and gathering. That will achieve what you're describing. I was like, yeah, but whatever. Okay, so I'm not going to work on this right now because that's the next layer. So what I have to do right now is I need to adhere this. And I think what I want to do, I actually think I'm going to reposition this. I'm not loving where that's going right now. So let me do that. I want this to, oh, I see. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ignore this and pretend that this is all of a piece. So I'm going to attach this down here like this, which means the first thing I need to do is stitch these little guys. Do you see how I've made little darts in here, little pleats? And I think I'm going to add one more here. Let's see, I don't like that. I want them to go this way. So these are going this way. These are going to go this way. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to do this one. And then I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to stitch this down with just some of my threads that I've got threaded up. So let me just do it with something, white-ish. This is white. Or maybe I do, let's see, it doesn't matter. This is this is where agonizing really is a total time robber. Just do whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, because it's going to get covered over with this anyway. So it's really, I'm just doing a quick basting here to get these guys down. I mean, you could even just run it up on a sewing machine. Let's see, like this. And then I'm going to pull these guys out. And we're going to pull that through. And I'm even leaving the knot on the outside here. So that, because who cares? Let's see. So I've got one. It doesn't even matter. I mean, I could gather this. It won't matter. Perfectionism can be wonderful because it makes you push harder, make sure that things are exactly as you want. But it can also be a real energy vampire, and I think there's a really nice balance that I find for myself I need to achieve, that I'm striving for, and so. The other thing is, perfectionism is such a joy kill, right? What's the word? Buzzkill. It really, like if you watch kids and they're just like playing and running around and doing stuff, they're not worrying about being perfect. That comes later. That's like beaten into us at some other later state, which is really unfortunate. Because, so this is kind of a dart, a gather, and a dart at the same time, and that's fine. So now, see too. Look at how poofy that's going to be. Yay, I love it. Okay, so now I'm going to pin this down. But now I have a different problem, right? Because now the issue is what goes in here. I need something in there. I can't just... So I don't want to stitch this down until I have whatever's going to be back here. And so, back to the drawing board. I gotta map this out. Let's see, I've got a piece of blue. I've got some blue. Maybe I just stick a blue thing in here. Just to have it as, well, it's kind of clashing. I don't like that. But what about something like this? What if I just put this back here? Just to fill it in. Because I can totally go now. I was thinking I'd cut this out, but I kind of like it. So I'm going to leave it. Okay. I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to put this like this. I'll pull this off. I don't want to use any more than I need to. So I've got that. I've got this. I am not cutting anything back here. I'm not going to cut this out. I'm again learned from my past mistakes. So I'm going to pin this. Oops. Pin this. I'm going to pin both sides. I'm going to stitch them down, and then I'm going to cut away the excess from behind once that's done, but not before that. I am not, as you may have remembered from the last video, I will not be truing up. I'm not even doing the bottom, because the bottom is now curved because of all the darts. So I'm not doing any of that. I'm leaving it alone. I will cut away the excess wool here from this guy. So I'm not cutting away the wool. I'm going to stitch this down, and then after I've stitched it, I'm going to stitch this part as well. So I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And then I'm going to cut away the excess wool, but not until I've finished stitching it. Once I've done that, then I have to reassess. I do want to get this thing down and this, because this paper is really fragile, and I may have to, I actually think I should put backing on here, just a fusible, that lightweight fusible. I think that's what I'll do. I'm going to keep this, I'm going to keep doing this running stitch. Okay, and I've got 3 rows of running stitch on this one side, so I'm going to continue with that. I need to take a break and get some water at some point here, because I have a frog in my throat. What a weird expression is that? Frog in my throat. I should look that up and find out. What is that? Where did that come from? If you hear in the background, that is my daughter. And my daughter is autistic. I don't talk about my kids too much on here because it's not for me to talk about them. But you will hear her, and in the past I try to edit out some of her shouts and stuff. Doing all that editing, I'm just not going to do it. So if that's what you hear, that's what you're hearing. That's my daughter very gleefully dancing in the background and making little noises, or sometimes big noises. She's the most cheerful human being I've ever encountered. She is just, we tease her and say she should be a professional greeter. Like if you ever needed like a wake-up call, that's who you'd want. You'd want to hire her. She has the good morning every morning. Good morning. I tell you, that is one wonderful way to wake up. Okay. So, as you can see, I'm kind of going down, and I am not in a very comfortable position here stitching, so I can't go as quickly. I could turn this whole thing around, but I think I need to get the ironing board out and do the fusible so that it I have the door shut. I've got the door shut. Anyway, the problem is every time I move this thing, like if I move it to sort of suit what would be a more comfortable stitching position for me, that paper I'm getting, I need to adhere it better. I need to get some fusible on there to just stabilize it, because it's really it's fragile and it's starting to rip a little bit. Okay, so I can take this one out. And for some reason, this wax paper it's the thing that they give you in the airplane that has like an air, these earplugs when you're on a long flight. Anyway, that's what that is. But it's got like a waxy something, I don't know, it's stronger, it's waxy or something, and so it seems to be quite strong because it is not showing any signs of wear. It's taken a beating, doesn't seem to care. So once I have this done, then I'll do the other side. I've been posting a lot of videos since I got back. And I also posted the video about burnout. And so I wanted to talk about that again, just because, so how does one prevent the burnout? And I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do know that posting several videos a day, as I have been, obviously begs the question, isn't that going to quickly lead to burnout? And my answer to that is maybe if I kept doing it for a prolonged period of time, but I won't be, because I just had to finish those videos and it was bugging me that I didn't. All right, so I just went ahead here, as you can see, and I made a stitch from here, and then I just sort of went in here and just pretended. Now I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to pretend that this stitch continues down over this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here like this into the blue and into the green, and then I'm just going to stitch as though this were all of a piece. So kind of like this. Can pull that out. Pull that one out too. I'm just kind of following the edge of this linen. I don't know if you noticed, but I also changed the thread because I ran out of the other one. But I had this other thread on the needle already, so I just decided to use it. Doesn't matter. None of it matters. You know, that's the thing. It just doesn't matter. We think everything matters so much, and it just doesn't. It's all just part of... I mean, it matters if you're doing some fine embroidery, but for this kind of work, it doesn't matter. Different threads add interest. Okay, so there's that. All right, so now I'm going to come back in, and I think I kind of like the way this is trailing off into nothing. Sort of reminds me of my hike in Lapland. Like, we got lost in the fog. That is so much the fog here. God, that was such a great trip. Oh my gosh. I tell you that I'm so glad. There was a moment when it was pouring rain and I had to put my tent up in the pouring rain, and it was an absolute torrential, right? Like we're not talking just a mild little drizzle. It was a torrential downpour. And I felt a little miserable. And I'm standing under a tree and I'm taping and I'm waiting for the others. And I did feel a little miserable, I have to say. I was wet, and I just thought, this is crazy. But in the end, it was so great. And that night, sleeping with the rain pounding down on the roof, it was really cool. And here's the thing, you know, about stuff like that. It just makes the memories are so vivid and powerful from doing things like that. I just love it. Anyway, okay. All right, so I could do a little running stitch coming off of this. That could actually be interesting, and maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start down here, and I'll start doing a running stitch, a second one, and I'm going to start doing a second row of running stitch, like a little path. For those of you who saw my Lapland hiking videos, you'll know the planks. I loved those planks. They reminded me of 2 running stitches, you know. And then every now and then one of the planks would have disintegrated or it would be missing, and so you'd sort of have to balance on one. Oh, but I was talking about burnout. So if I continued to try to sustain doing 2 videos a day, or even 1 video a day, that would definitely eventually lead to burnout. I don't know how long it would take. I've got a lot of energy, so, you know, it might take a while, but it would eventually lead to that. The biggest thing that I think, for me, the burnout, was the Patreon page. Patreon did not work for me, and because I felt so much pressure to produce more and more and more content for the people who had signed up, and I just couldn't. I just felt like it was for someone like me, where I, you know, perfectionism driven already, you know, yeah, it was not a good fit. So when I ended that page, I cannot tell you what a relief it was. I felt just like I could breathe. But then, you know, there were all these other things that happened, and that really, it was too much. So I had to pull away. And as people have pointed out, I had so many, just, you know, everybody was so lovely in their comments. And as someone pointed out, if I couldn't have pushed through. At one point in that video, I say, could I have, you know, white knuckled it and pushed through anyway? And I think, you know, the lesson here is to not do that, because that's actually not taking care of myself. Taking care of myself is listening to what I need, which can be hard if you don't know who you are or what you need or what you want. So, you know, you have to figure those things out first, and then you can have a better idea of what you need. Do I need to rest now? Do I need to just take a break? Do I need to, whatever, you know? And that was a lot of what I ended up doing in these 1.5 to 2 years of. I did continue posting videos. I mean, in the 2 year where I kind of stopped regularly posting, I posted 11 videos. All right, so that's not much. That's 1 every 2 months on average. So it wasn't like I totally disappeared, but I did kind of disappear, and I needed to. So I think so much of this is, so much of the work I'm doing, I'm, you know, really having to do, and that became clear to me, was that this was work that it was important for me to figure this stuff out, because I really wanted to be able to be free of all that fear. There's a wonderful, wonderful woman who teaches, what did I do here? Who teaches it's for art. She's a painter, but she's really, I think, just lovely. Her name is Louise Fletcher, and she does like a free thing. It's for painting and collage and whatnot, but but in any case, she does like a free thing, and then she does, and then once you've done the free thing, you can sign up for the paid course. And her whole thing is to really ask yourself a lot of questions. But what I find for my own journey here is that I really needed to learn how to love myself. I needed to figure that piece out. I did not know how to do that. And so, and I believe that for myself, I'm not going to, certainly not going to assume for anybody else, but for myself, I found that until I could really do that work of figuring out how to really truly love myself, not, act as if, okay, that's better than not at all, but to really, really love myself, I had to do an awful lot of work. You wouldn't think it would be that hard, but I think for some of us it really is, because if you're not taught at an early age that that's important, and I was not, then it's going to be hard as an adult, because it's not something that was modeled for me, and it was not something that was taught. So until I learned how to do that, I had fear. And I think, this is my theory, I think my absence of fear now when I'm creating is a direct result of that work, of that self-love work. But I've got to find some stuff. I'm using a different thread now. It's Blue Seas from the Thread Gatherer. It's the Silk and Pearl 5, and I don't know if she still has that, because I know sometimes she'll change it up. But what I want to do now that I've got this bit down, what I want to do is take this here, this one, and I'm going to keep going up this way so that it's kind of like, like a path diverging. So that's, or like train tracks. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm doing it now in the Silk and Pearl. I couldn't find that other one. I don't know what happened to, oh, well, of course now I see it out of the corner of my eye. I can, that's okay. Yeah, so until I had figured that piece out, I think I was just going to sort of be destined to have a tremendous amount of fear. So I think there's really a connection there, and that's part of what I want to flesh out for, I think it'll be the next workshop I'm going to teach, which will be in the beginning of the new year. There's that, and here's this. I want this to come out a little bit more. It's a beautiful thing about textile versus paper. You can kind of pull it and manipulate it. If you do that to paper, it just rips. This little guy has, this little Dorset button has a little t-shirting attached. I'll put the Dorset button. I've done a bunch of videos on Dorset buttons, but I'll put it up in the right-hand corner. So if you don't know how to do a Dorset button, they're really, you too can go down the Dorset button rabbit hole. Yeah, it's days, weeks, months, but they are fun. I often see people doing really cool weaving, like where they're weaving, you know, all kinds of stuff. It's mixed media weaving. It's not just like a loom with, you know, the same kind of thread. They're just weaving in all sorts of stuff, and it's really cool. And I often think I'd love to do that, but every time I've looked into weaving, you have to do the base of the threads, and I don't know, that just doesn't seem interesting. It kind of loses my interest there. If I could have someone else, like an assistant, if I could have an assistant, wouldn't we all love to have an assistant? God, that would be great. Like a robot, you know? Someone who could just do that, like thread it up. I'd be into it. That'd be cool. Okay, I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to come back down and do a second row, I think, along here. I love these colors. They remind me of when I was hiking in Lapland, and how green it was. It was so green, and then you would see these mushrooms, this fungi kind of popping up everywhere, and they were red mushrooms, and then like yellow and gray and sort of ochre, and I could not creamy white, and I could not believe all the mushrooms that were just all over the place. And then you had the lingonberries and blueberries just growing wild. And the blueberries, you could just reach down and grab a handful of blueberries and pop them in your mouth, and they were so sweet. And they were just growing wild all along the hillside where we were hiking. It was just incredible. That's what this color reminds me of. And the moss, there was moss and lichen, and so beautiful. I was also really struck by all the water and the rocks, and I tried to show a lot of that in the videos, like the rocks poking up out of the water. I don't know, it was just so different than what I've seen in North America. Oh, I bought this thing. Have you guys seen this? So when you need to like pull a needle out, you stick it in here and then you push this down and you pull. I think if I wasn't so used to my Lindstrom, these guys, I think this was really cool, and they're a lot cheaper. But I'm so used to my Lindstroms that I don't know. I should give them another shot though, because it's much lighter. They're not as bulky. They're lighter. I won't get stopped in customs traveling, so I could totally use them. Traveling. Maybe that's what I do. I'll put the link below. So if I've said this before, but I'll just repeat it. If you're trying to find something like these cardboard thread things, or this, or my Lindstroms, or the thing that I do for my, what do you call it? I can't remember what you call this. In any case, these. I have all the links down below underneath descriptions. You just have to scroll down and it'll say links. It's below my designs. All right, I am going to go ahead. Here's my wool. I'm pushing that aside. I'm going to cut that, but I'm going to, with my thread that I have on this needle, I'm going to go ahead and attach these two pieces. I think I'm just going to do a couple of big, like that, straight stitches. And then maybe kind of alternate it so that I'm going from here back to here and letting them kind of splay out a little. Yeah, so I'm going to, I'm kind of doing like so this way, then this way, then this, I'm alternating. So I'm kind of splaying them out, right? So this right now I'm using as my base, and then I'm kind of having it, I guess, fan out is what I want to say. See, I want to put this over that. And I'm running out of thread, so I'm going to end it here. And then I'll keep going. And then I'm going to cut this away.